Should the Highland Council be broken up into smaller areas that serve the communities better than the current centralised model that people feel is failing them? And I'll go to Andrew.
Absolutely, yes. And it's something that I've thought for a very long time and have previously raised both as a councillor and as a resident and raised again during this by-election campaign. I think we've discovered over the years that bigger hasn't proven necessarily better in terms of our council structures, and we have some of the biggest council structures anywhere in Europe as a result. And with the vast geographical region that we have of Highland Council, which is larger than Belgium, inevitably the dynamics tend to skew towards the main centre of population. And in our case, that's Inverness and the Inner Murray Firth area. That's where the bulk of the councillors are. That's where the economic dynamics emerge from. And understandably, much of the focus of the council over the years has been towards Inverness. And I do believe that we can have a better model. I have an open mind. People ask me, well, would that return to the old days of a Lochaber district? I actually think that's too small in modern terms, but I could see a West Coast authority that maybe incorporates Skye, Lochaber, part of Lochaush, and Northern Argyll, including Oban and Mull. I can see lots of synergy between those areas and lots of shared focus and challenges that we face. And people will say, well, what about the big services? How would a small authority be able to deal with those? Well, I see opportunities for shared services. It works elsewhere in the United Kingdom where councils buy into shared services, not necessarily adjacent to each other, but often at other sides of the country in terms of administration and so on. The key to this will be the Scottish government wanting local government reform, and most governments are never particularly interested in genuine local government reform, and that shouldn't preclude us from trying to devolve as much power from council headquarters to the local area as possible. So actually real power and real budgets, devolved budgets. It's been spoken about on numerous occasions for our area committee, and the planning decisions actually being made here by Lochaber councillors rather than nonsense of the system that we have at the moment where you can live in Nairn and determine a planning application in Kilhowen and vice versa.
Thanks, Andrew. Nathan. Oh, no, sorry, Susan.
I don't mind if we varied the order, Marie. It's fine by me.
No, on you go, Susan. It's fine.
It's just Rebecca's coming last all the time. It's not fair on her. Perhaps we could turn it round next time. I don't have a strong feeling about whether we're in Highland Council or a West of Scotland Council or whatever. I think we're too small to be a Lochaber Council, so we're going to be in some larger outfit. And I think, there's a lot of experience around Highland that is good to draw on. I do feel the West is different to the East, but my main feeling is that I'm really pleased we got the Lochaber Area Committee back. And if we could get more devolution back to Lochaber, I think that would be great. This does feel like a place, it feels like a distinct, when you come to live here, I think you feel you're living in this shape of geography. And I'd really like to see the wards broken down again. They got amalgamated, and it's really madness to, the Coolin Mallaig ward goes from Mallaig to Invergarry. And I mean, there's a constant frustration with councillors not being able to get around, but it's huge. And And there's very different communities. I mean, I'd really like to see us break that down again into at least 4 wards. So that's my contribution on that issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Nathan.
Yes, so I feel that smaller areas, that is, with more power to them, can be a better alternative. I think that when you have centralized government with a very large amount of decision making being made a very long way away from where the actual problem is, there is always going to be something lost in translation. There's always going to be decisions that are effectively a blanket policy that are not actually going to in any way, shape, or form work for your particular community or where you work and where you live. I feel that if there is a smaller area that is run by people who live there, who work there, who experience the problems in it every day, and those people actually have a genuine power to change and fix things, you're going to see an improvement there. I think one of the strongest things we need to really focus on is the drive for community again. I think that's the thing we've lost now. We've become this point where we've got vast governments and reforms and things like this, and I think we've become very almost complacent in other folk doing things for us. So I think if there's a smaller wards, smaller areas would help foster the fact that actually we can fix these things ourselves. And if those powers were handed to small areas, I think you would see a really positive change. I think you would see massive improvements in how the areas are managed and run, how the common problems that have faced every one of us pretty much the entire time we've been around would potentially actually finally see some serious fixes. Because at the end of the day, if you live somewhere and someone's complaining to you about potholes on a road that you've never even seen or been on, do you really care? Do you mind? Because you're never going to drive that road, you're never going to see it. What does it matter that someone 80 miles down there is, emailing you saying you need to fix this? If it's someone who lives there, they drive that road every day, they get stuck behind the same traffic lights and the same road works, they have the same problems. They're going to be much more sympathetic and be much more willing to solve those problems. So yes, I think smaller wards where local communities can solve these problems themselves is a phenomenal thing. I genuinely do. Yes. So that's my view on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Rebecca. You're on mute again, Rebecca.
Sorry, putting myself on mute, not interrupt me. So it's interesting because when you talk to people on the peninsula, for instance, they talk about how healthcare is very centralised to Fort William. And that kind of centralising and puts to bigger areas of population happens even when you break things up. So I would say the populist answer to it's easy, and of course it should. And there are lots of people who dislike the current model and long to return to old regional councils. And I completely understand that. And Andrew is right to look at Europe. If you look at European councils, on average, they have 10,000 inhabitants compared to our 175,000 inhabitants here. Highland councils are larger than Wales, and Wales has 22 councils. Belgium's the same size as Highland Council and has 571 local councils. But again, if you then looked at what services are being provided there, say if you looked at France, you would see that education is completely centralised nationally, and so is social care. So that the local communes, their ability to raise money and to fix potholes, and to do that locally is much easier. And we've got these giant pockets of land, these 175,000 strong councils, because of the way our government is organised at a national level and a Westminster level. We do need land reform. We would need to completely reform council tax to make it financially viable for smaller blocks to run those services as they stand. It would be a huge amount of work. So my argument would be that whilst I understand the vision or the argument for it, whilst we are where we are, it's the role of a responsible councillor to do the best job with the tools we actually have and work with the current model, and then work with others to improve that and make sure that the services are not as centralised across the ward and across council as it stands now.